you and I need to have cameos in the rest of the Batman movies now, because
Hey, I'm available.
that's
Warner
right.
Brothers, Warner Brothers, come at me. I'm available.
I might know a guy. We'll see what we can work on there.
Yeah. Well, as for someone who actually did star in the movie, but not technically The Dark Knight, Katie Holmes opted to not reprise her role of Rachel Dawes in the film. Instead, she starred in the crime comedy Mad Money after taking a brief hiatus from acting after the birth of her daughter, Suri Cruz, which is from her marriage to Tom Cruise.
Hmm.
While Emily Blunt and Rachel McAdams were considered to replace Holmes in The Dark Knight, the role instead went to Maggie Gyllenhaal, who is the older sister of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. So to me, they did a good job at covering that up. They eased Rachel in softly. Maggie Gyllenhaal. There's some resemblance there, at least. The worst things about sequels is when they can't get the original cast to return, because it's just one of those things in the back of your head that's always playing at you. So I think they did an appropriate job with her role in this film. She played a big role, but how they structured the film, at least, it seemed like they played her into it softly enough in the beginning, fully, you know, got her to that point. I mean, obviously, "Where's Rachel?" is a pretty popular line from uh, this movie. So
Where
he,
is she?
yeah, yeah, where is she? So so I think they did a good job, and plus I love me some Jake Gyllenhaal, so anybody from that family is they're all right with me. So
Right on, right on. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Before, like when I first watched this movie, I didn't notice the difference. I didn't even recognize, I didn't pick up on the fact it was a different actress in the role, which, of course, back then, I wasn't quite living quite in the movie world like I am now. Now
mhm.
it's quite obvious because I think Maggie Gyllenhaal does a lot better job, honestly. I feel like she fits the role better. I feel like that was a positive change that was made.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
but yeah, especially now, it's like, whoa, I can't believe I didn't catch that. But
Like I said, I think they really did an excellent job at sneaking the change in there. And honestly, in Batman Begins, she's not your favorite character in the movie, so
right.
they kind of had to win your heart back a little bit, to the point where you're right there with Christian Bale, wanting to know where she is, so you can save her life. So yeah, it's I don't know, that it's definitely, in my opinion, the best way that a new actress has been, or actor has been, implemented into a sequel without there being at least to me, a big upset. So
Hey, you heard it here first, folks. But when you talk about two different faces portraying an actor, hey, speaking of, for the role of Harvey Dent slash Two Face, actors Matt Damon, Mark Ruffalo, and Hugh Jackman were considered for the part. However, the role eventually went to Aaron Eckhart. Nolan praised Eckhart's quote chiseled American hero quality end quote to the likes of Robert Redford and Eckhart's subtextual edge. Eckhart claimed to love portraying good characters gone bad and likened his portrayal to Robert F. Kennedy, who was, quote, idealistic, held a grudge, and took on the mob, end quote. How do you feel about that?
I think their decision was perfect. Looking at the list of who the possibilities could have been for Harvey Dent, none of them really fill the look of a politician like Aaron Eckhart does. To me, it's one of those things that you have to consider when making a film, is not only what is their prowess, what's their experience, how talented are they as an actor, but you do have to fit the role to a face. So, okay, so Matt Damon has played a politician a couple times before, but you gotta, he has to have a face to where you want him to be the politician that he could be to start the movie out. And then obviously, when he flips and becomes Two Face, you have to also be able to hate him. So you have to have a love hate relationship with the same face, and it has to sort of almost be introduced to the character before the character even turns before you even know that he's going to turn. Obviously, being that they've done Batman a couple times and the comic books have obviously been around for a while, you know who Harvey Dent is. You know that he's going to become Two-Face. So there is a little bit preconception there. But, he's got a face that looks like a politician and also looks like a bad guy, but you can also sympathize with.
Exactly. And speaking about preconceived notions about characters and how they're portrayed, we'd mentioned Batman Forever just a little bit ago. And when you think about Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face, I mean, I think they wanted to get as far away from that portrayal as possible. And
Mhm.
Tommy Lee Jones is a great actor. Don't get me wrong; he's amazing. He's a legend, right?
Yeah.
But I think he would tell you he did not have a good experience making that movie, right? It was a very, very on the nose, comic booky, old school style kind of in a kind of way that really just goes against everything these movies are trying to be with Christopher Nolan, right? So obviously you want to get as far away from that as possible. And I think when, like you said, Aaron Eckhart, when you look at him compared to the other actors that were thought of, yeah, maybe they've portrayed politicians in different roles in different movies. But we're just looking at them. When you look at Aaron Eckhart, he looks like a politician, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'm trying to remember, maybe I can pull it up here, but Aaron Eckhart has played the president of the United States before in a movie.
Oh yeah, was
Um,
it Olympus Has Fallen?
yeah, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember timeline, what came first, the chicken or the egg there,
I want to say Olympus Has Fallen was after The Dark Knight. I want to say it was after.
which sounds right because Dark Knight, as new as it seems, was 2008, which seems crazy to me.
So was it
Um,
14 years ago?
yeah, well, yeah, and Olympus Has Fallen is 2013, so um,
Oh,
just kind of goes to show, though, he's got the face for politics, but the heart for acting. So that's good. We've got him on the right side of the ordeal here. So
yeah, and I think, like he said, he likes playing good characters gone bad, but also he also just has the persona that he has the stature that he can pull it off quite well,
mhm.
and just kind of fits into that mold of this movie trying to be realistic about every aspect, right?
Which,
Like,
yeah.
so it fits the bill, and I think honestly, both him and Gary Oldman are the most underrated actors and for the performances in this movie
Hmm.
when it's all said and done. They do an incredible job in this movie. Aaron Eckhart was so good in this movie, and obviously Heath Ledger should be praised, as he should be, right? He took this movie to a whole different level even before he passed away, with his
Hmm.
performance. So obviously, like, he deserves all the credit there as well. But Aaron Eckhart definitely, I feel like, did a great job, and I find it really interesting that he brought up Robert F. Kennedy. I wasn't expecting that, but it makes sense. Even JFK, and to an extent, like, it makes sense.
Well, you know what they say about the Kennedys? They're all, they've got the face for politics. Essentially, they're very handsome men and women. I don't think any of their wives or the daughters have made it into politics yet, but everybody loves a Kennedy, right? So it's the perfect comparison to make. And going back to you saying that they wanted to get as far away from the Tommy Lee Jones rendition of Two Face, 100%, because this is, you had touched on this a little bit before. It's realistic. It's a realistic version of Batman that, yeah, okay, there's some stuff that they stretch a little bit, obviously, but it's to the date that it had came out. It's the most realistic possible version that could actually potentially happen in the real world. So they had to totally get away from any of the prior characters that were a little bit goofy. That's why they never did, think of the number of Batman villains that they passed on in this trilogy. You didn't see Penguin making a comeback because the Penguin essentially is a human that looks like a penguin, which is, you can't get away from that goofiness. I mean, you kind of could, but not in the ways that he had been portrayed before. There was no, Dr. Freeze. There was no
Mr. Freeze, you mean?
Mr. Freeze. Oh no. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a zealot. Uh but and same thing with the rendition of Joker. Just a so much more of a serious Joker than had been portrayed in the past. So Yeah, I think they made great decisions in this movie, and it had to have been painstaking to cast this movie along with write it in the way that they did, because there's so many things just had to fall together correctly, and fortunate for us it did.
Yeah. And, when Aaron Eckhart said that he was basing his character on the Kennedys, he also stayed true to that fact in the other sense that his character didn't make it out of this movie alive. So,
There you
you
go.
know,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.